Here we're going to tie a fly called the Sculpin bugger. First thing we're going to do is just get our thread started. We're going to lay down at just a thread base. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in the tail. For this I'm just going to use some black woolly bugger Marabou. I'm going to take out 2 plumes of it. And I'm going to make it so the tips are even. Just like so. And we want this tail to be about 3/4 of the shank of the hook. So I just kind of roughly measured it out, lay it down on the hook, secure it. Now I'm actually just going to wrap forward. I'm not going to cut my Marabou yet because I actually want a nice even streamer body. So I just take my thread and jump it forward. Now I can get in there and trim out the excess. And I just wrap through it a few times to make sure it's secure. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in just a couple pieces of pearl Flashabou. So I take 2 strands of that. And I'm just going to wrap it around my thread. Hold it onto each side of the hook. And wrap back to the tail. And we're going to trim that Flashabou the length of the tail. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in a generous piece of copper wire. Tie that alongside the shank of the hook. Just let it hang off of the back. Now we're going to tie in some black chenille, medium sized for this fly. I'm going to take that chenille. I'm just going to wrap a nice uniform body. I can secure the chenille. You can see I've left a little bit of a space up at the head. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to save that space for a Sculpin helmet fish skull. So I just make sure I have enough room left there. Now, next thing to do is I'm going to take a piece of woolly bugger hackle. I'm going to use Grizzly here, but you can use black as well. So I just tie that in. I'm going to begin to wrap a hackle, and I'm just going to take this hackle and palmer it back towards the tail. Once I get to the end, I'm just going to take my copper wire. I'm going to segment the fly with the wire. What this is going to do is keep that hackle from coming unwound, and also give the fly a little bit of added segmentation. I can capture that copper wire. can trim out the excess hackle. Now the next thing to do is we're going to tie in the gills to the fly. For this I'm just going to use some red woolly bugger hackle. I'm going to take a plume of it. I'm going to tie in a short plume that's only about a third of the length of the total hook. It's better to make these a little bit shorter rather than too long. Just take that. I'm just going to tie a little plume on each side here, so I do one side at each side. And I trim out the excess. And I make each side the same length. Once you have them tied in on each side, you can just get in here and clean it up. And just make sure my Sculpin helmet's going to fit here. Can always add a little bit more thread. This thread just acts as a base for that helmet, gives the glue in the helmet something to grab onto. A little bit more. Once you've got enough thread built up there for the base for the helmet, you can just whip finish. Now we're going to take some Zap-A-Gap super glue. I like to use the brush on. We're going to apply some super glue to the entire head of the fly. We're going to take our Sculpin helmet, we're going to put it on so the keel, or the thick portion of the helmet, faces upwards and the eyes face down. And just push it on there. Let the glue set. There we go. Now it's set. Just flip this fly over here so I can put the eyes on. For the eyes, all you're going to do is take a small amount of glue here, same glue, just some Zap-A-Gap. Just takes a little bit. You're going to put a little bit on each side, or each eye well or recess here. You're going to take an eye and I usually just put it on the head and just kind of scoot it into the little recess. There we go. You're going to do that for each side. And you just press the eyes into place with your fingers. That's all there is to it. It's very easy, effective little fly to tie. It's nice and heavy, gets down quickly. Can be tied in lots of different colors. You can tie them in olive and brown as well. You can tie them in all black and skip the Grizzly. That's all there is to the Sculpin bugger.